Can everyone turn off video? And Roche, I believe we should be going live in within 5 seconds.
Sounds good. Just send me the link via one or the other that you get, and then I'll try to see if I can access it through OptionSwing. YouTube.
Okay, I sent in the chat.
Sweet, and I could see it on the YouTube as well. So
Okay, can you leave and make sure we'll start testing it out right now?
yeah.
As well. Amazing.
One or the other that you get, and then
Man, for some reason, my Wi-Fi isn't working. It has never happened.
Okay, people are starting to tune in. We have 6 people.
Come on.
Did we post a link internally within the server for YouTube?
Dan, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Let's see. I don't even have it. I'll pull it up.
You know what the fuck?
Hey guys.
Hey, Jason. We're just going live. We're waiting for people to start coming in as well. So
Perfect. Sounds good. Good to see you guys. Loving all the OptionSwing swag. Had to grab the hat.
Nice.
Nice for matching.
How's your trip so far?
It's awesome.
Where are you, Ecuador?
Because it's being recorded right now, I won't do it, but I'm at the beach right now. And so I have like the ocean like right in front of me and the beach right there, and it's super chill.
Sweet. Yeah, the pictures and videos look pretty sick. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think we have some viewers already tuned in. So we will be starting our live stream in 2 minutes. So just hang out and we'll kick things off in just a few. I gotta say, one of the coolest things about, doing OptionSwing is, and especially like this whole logo, is seeing all of you guys wearing OptionSwing logos as well. It does feel very much like a team, and it is cool to see stuff like that. I really appreciate you guys.
Definitely. Always looking for a chance to wear and rep the merch.
Yeah, likewise, Jason.
Yeah, 100%.
It's definitely been a
And we have
crazy
a
2 years. So
and my Wi-Fi isn't working, so I'm not gonna be able to share my screen or whatever. Looks
okay,
like I'm
all
connected
good.
to connection in Ecuador or something. Fuck.
You can never trust the Wi-Fi
Check it
out
out.
here.
Check it out.
We seem to be having some technical difficulties.
All right, so it's 4 o'clock. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome everyone to our first OptionSwing live stream. My name is Jason. I'm the founder and CEO of OptionSwing, and I'm excited to kick this session off with you all. It's been over 2 years since we started this community, and every single year we've made huge progress, whether it's growing our Discord community to over 2,200 members or launching 2 new products that we did at the end of last year. And with that said, I want to thank every single person who supports us and is part of this community and also watching this live stream right now, as it is impossible to accomplish all of this without your support. Not only that, but it also takes an incredible team to build what we've done. And so I'd like to introduce the rest of this amazing people who's on this call with us that helps make everything possible. And the first person that I'll introduce and hand things off to is Sime, who is leading our operational side of the house. Sime, take it away.
Jason, thank you so much for the introduction and for those kind words. We'll kick it off today. We have a good variety of the OptionSwing team here. We have Jose, aka Jim. We do have Dana here in the chat as well, also known as Buy Them Dips. Warwick's here. Will, also known as Will Options, is in the chat, and Kabir is also joining us. So we thought we'll kick it off today. The structure of this live stream is going to go. We're going to start off with looking at our favorite trading tools, what we look to study the market, how we find our edges. From there, we'll talk about a bit more on how we use those tools to construct our watch list and how we conduct technical analysis on them to find profitable opportunities that we capitalize on within the OptionSwing server and community. From there on, we'll talk about some potential earning reports that are coming out, what to look out for, what's happening in the market, and at the end, we have a special surprise for all of you. So with that being said, we'll kick it off with Dan. How's it going, Dan? What are you looking at these days?
Hey guys, what's up? Dan here. Right now, as many people in the server know, we've been focusing on the Dow components. We're looking at energy. I'm starting to look at travel just based off the indicators I like to use, which are MACD and the RSI. And I like to look at long-term time frames. So I look at daily and the weekly. And if we look at the weekly time frame on some of these names, you can see that the MACD is about a crossover. So I will be watching airlines, especially with American Airlines reporting this week, which we'll talk about later.
Amazing. Love to hear it. I mean, it's been a rocky start for 2022 for the stock market overall. And I think the stock market being closed today might just be what we need to have our first positive week. We've also seen a lot of inflation concerns coming out, Omicron disruptions, right? Everything that has caused forecasters to project even lower economic growth for this quarter. Seeing reports, Wall Street Journal coming out reporting their Q1 forecast to 3% annual growth rather than 4.2 back in October. So those revisions are being made across the board. Warwick, let's start off with you, man. I'm curious, when you're starting off your day, what tools are you using? Are you, as a trader, are you on TradingView? Help me understand what that looks like for you.
So I do all like the pre-market updates and the email, like the OS Edge and all that. So for me, I kind of have to go read a bunch of news, otherwise I'd probably get fired. But I mean, like, yeah, I look at pre-market laggers and leaders. I look at which indices are performing well. And then besides that, I kind of just let the market unfold. I'm kind of a big believer that everything will just, like, price will move where it wants to move. So I actually try not to stress too much about what's happening in the first hour or two of the day. And then, yeah, I just kind of let it play out from there.
Amazing. So when you are looking for these laggards, winners, and top performers, whatever they may be, is there any website that you're going to? Do you have a personal preference?
No, I flip through a lot of charts. So TradingView is my go-to. I mean, you can take away everything,
classic,
but leave me with TradingView, I'll be fine.
Amazing, amazing. How about you, Dan? What do you play around with while looking for opportunities?
Like I said, I'm a swing trader. I don't day trade. I never do that. So I look for momentum. So I use momentum indicators via TradingView. Like I said before, I use volume, which is probably my favorite indicator. Just volume, it's what keeps price moving. I look at the MACD and RSI, but I think the biggest tell is definitely volume, especially where buyers and sellers are coming in, both volume by time and volume by price.
Amazing. Okay, yeah, I mean, those are great. As Warwick said, you don't want to worry about the price will always go wherever it wants to go. So we'll touch on that. And then Jose, how about you, man? What are you looking at?
Me personally, I really like looking at unusual volume, like Dan mentioned, and unusual options activity as well. I think unusual options activity is basically one of the only indicators that can actually predict where price is going, to be honest, because obviously, these people are making these trades, betting on the stock going in certain directions and stuff. And many of these traders, they have better tools and more knowledge as to what's going to happen next. So I do like unusual volume, unusual options activity. And like they mentioned, I think price action is key. Price action is key to everything. And honestly, it's something that to understand it, you gotta understand like the whole, the overall market, like Dan was mentioning earlier, like the Dow stocks, they have been moving well, and they have been outperforming the market well, like the past few days and stuff. So we would like if we want to look for a trade or something, we want to look for opportunities and stuff that are basically outperforming the market and stuff.
Definitely, thank you for that. And then when you're looking for these unusual options activity, Jose, is there a specific website or tool that you use, or how would you go about doing that?
Honestly, what I use is obviously our OS Flow tools. I do like the OS Algo a lot, obviously it isn't for beginners. You do have to have like some of the understanding of the market. Not only that, but you also gotta be quick when you are trading based on price action, because things can go south like really quick. But basically, yeah, I just use our tools, and every now and then I use one tool that's called Quant Data. They're probably like one of the cheapest solutions out there, and they probably have like the most data out there and stuff.
Okay, you touched on quant data. I'm actually a big fan. What specific information can someone go and extract from there? Would you look for that is useful to you?
Honestly, they have a bunch of tools. They have news, they have reports on companies. Then they have like their own like indicators based on the unusual activity that they pick up. They have a bunch of things, but above all, they have a lot of data. A lot of data. It can get overwhelming, but at the same time, like if you know what you're looking for and stuff, you can read into it and make your conclusions, after looking at your charts and other indicators.
Okay, sweet. Thank you for that, Jose. We'll come to you. So what trading fields do you use on a daily basis, man? I know you're a big technical guy as well.
Yeah,
it's to hear what you
kind of begins and ends with TradingView for me. Every day when I'm getting up and getting ready pre-market, I'll look at index futures. I have like high time frame charts set up for all of them, but I'll look at the overnight action that happened and kind of see, are we coming into a support or a supply zone or a demand zone, and just try and get an idea of what what to anticipate sector wise throughout the day, like what's showing relative strength overnight, like the NASDAQ or industrials, things of that nature. And then I'll kind of base my watch list around those overarching themes of the day. It kind of gives me like a narrative to look for throughout the day. But yeah, it's purely price action type analysis. News and all that, I'll keep an eye on that with I use TweetDeck as well, which is like a like a live action sort of dashboard of tweets from I get the Bloomberg terminal feed and all that. But that's all secondary. That's like things that you act on given like a prior understanding of what your what the playing field looks like for the day. It all comes back to the charts at the end of the day for me.
Amazing. So definitely not a earnings trader, are you, Will? More than technical.
I think like 9 out of 10 earnings trades I've taken I'm like a great counter indicator. If I'm buying calls for earnings, then that's when you short it.
It's, what do they say? Buy the rumor, sell the news, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. So, Will, you just kind of let us segue over next topic, which is kind of going about how to creating your watch list. So a lot of our viewers, they're looking forward to how to get started every morning, how to go about doing this themselves, because that will give them the ability to join us and potentially get started on their trading journey. So I'll kick it off with War. How do you go about in the morning picking out what stocks you're looking at? What are some things that you look out for? Is it unusual volume? Is it, pre-market activity? Are you looking for any catalysts? Just curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so probably like every weekend and then maybe like once midweek, I'll flip through a bunch of charts on like the daily and weekly time frame. Like in December, lots of these like boomer charts were starting to set up with like bullish patterns and this and that, and whatever. And lots of tech ones were starting to show some bearish signs. So, I mean, for a lot of us in OptionSwing, we've been trading, I don't even know, like Boeing was the most recent one and Raytheon, but we got oil and stuff too. Those were all like crossing bullish on MACD on the weekly. And they all had bull flags and, bullish continuation patterns. So yeah, on TradingView, you have a screener and I just sort by market cap and I just flip through probably 200-300 charts on the weekends, and that's that.
Okay, amazing. Well, sorry. Sweet. We'll go on to Dan. Dan, how do you go about starting your day and creating your watch list?
So I like to look for momentum and kind of relative strength or relative weakness. Let's see if the market's going up and some stocks are going down, or if the market's going down and some stocks are going up. I kind of like to follow those because those are the ones that kind of give the follow through. Like I don't like trading stocks that are going sideways. Like I'm known in the server for buying momentum. Like people think it's a top, and I buy the top and I sell a higher top. You got to trade stocks that are moving. Don't try to catch bottoms, especially in this market right now, where these growth stocks are getting pummeled. People they keep drawing these falling wedges they're going to keep falling. Don't try to catch a bottom. Follow the momentum. Short those stocks that they look ugly and are going to keep going lower. Buy the ones that are showing the relative strength, because they're starting to price in future growth, of kind of how would you say it? Like, they're starting to price in where they see themselves a year from now, 2 years from now, and those growth stocks don't look so hot for the future anymore. But I kind of went off topic there. But yeah, like I said, kind of stocks that are showing strength pre-market, depending on the indices price action. That's why. And also flow. I'm a big fan of flow, which I forgot to mention in the last section. I liked looking at unusual options activity, and I think I'm really good, have really good nose for what's sold and what's bought. So I use that a lot.
So I guess we can call Dan the big flow guy. So Dan, yeah, no, definitely. I think you touched on very interesting topics there, especially considering of how the environment around the markets are changing, these low interest environments, and we've seen that shift from growth to value into more cyclical side. Yeah. So it's definitely nice to see that transition. And you talk about this relative strength in some stocks that you see every morning. How are you looking? Are you looking at, a sector indices like the XLE, XLF, which measures the financial sector? Are you looking at individual stocks? Are you putting that up on TradingView? Help our viewers understand how they can themselves do this as well.
So I like to use the heat map, which I keep up on FinViz. We keep that heat map up all day and just kind of see what's green, what sector, because it shows you by sectors, right? And then I look at flow, and then I look at, I search for the ETFs of that sector. Let's say it's energy, I'll look at XLE, and then I look at for flow for XLE, MRO, CVX, XOM, Oxy, which is what we're in right now. And if I see some unusual activity, which is like, let's say they give it 3 months out options, and they're betting on a 15% move. I'm like, all right, that's what I'm gonna buy, and that's what we did 2 weeks ago. We bought XLE, and you would think it's overextended, but it just keeps going higher and higher. So like I said, that's why I like to trade those stocks that are actually moving and showing some strength in this weak market.
Dan, thank you so much for that.
On what Dan just said, I forgot who said it exactly. I was watching some interview with like a trader and some hedge fund guy. But he said like stocks that are going to the top right, like they're going to continue to go that way. So yeah, I mean, it's exactly like Dan said, just find the strength, and it doesn't matter if you bought the bottom or whatever, but as long as you catch a portion of that move, you're chilling.
Thank you for that. Now, Jose, the man himself, how do you go about creating your watch list?
Honestly, like every day I read the pre-market updates and stuff from Warwick. I do have the watch list that we put up. Like, I do have it on one screen, but then on another screen I also have like my own personal watch list, and I build it based on different things. For example, like they were saying, like if we see that Delta reported earnings and they did well, then we should have one airline on our watch list the next day. If we see, for example, ASML, which is the biggest semiconductor company out there, they're going to be reporting this Wednesday. If they do well, then maybe we should be following some semiconductors, after that. I think that when we build a watch list, we got to build it based on news, because obviously, like if they have news and stuff, maybe we can catch a portion of that move, we also gotta look at catalysts, if they have earnings coming up and stuff. It's usual that we see some wild moves on stocks before earnings. They usually run up or down into earnings. Also look to see how the competitors are doing. Look for chart patterns, and that's basically it. Also maybe announcements or events, like like if AMD, they're gonna be announcing a new graphic card and stuff. Maybe try to catch a breakout and stuff like before the event happens. Because many people are gonna be hyped for the event and are gonna be buying on stuff, or there's a possibility of that.
Definitely,
so it's a company.
I think the overall consensus I can hear from you guys is all of you are looking for multiple confluences that align with, you know, the trade that you're plotting. And when that is in check, that's when you guys execute, right? So exciting stuff. We'll move on now. Dan, do you want to kick it off by showing us potential example of how someone would create a watch list or how you would do that?
Let's see. So we don't have a heat map right now, but I'll show you guys what we've been watching and kind of like a before and after.
Feel free to share your screen, Dan, as well.
Gotcha. Let me see. This one. All right. Cool. You guys can see this one?
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
to go.
All right. So this
Maybe
is
zoom in a tad
XLE.
bit.
Yeah, XLE. Is it up already or no?
Yeah, should be good.
Okay. All right. So right now I'm sharing the chart. This one is XLE. It's the energy sector. It's an ETF that tracks your biggest oil companies. And these aren't really moving. These companies, let's say like MRO, these companies really aren't moving on their evaluation of the price. They're moving on the price of crude oil. Like this one. This is MRO. The one that I'm really tracking right now is Oxy, because we're trading this one. And I picked this one just because the rest of them had kind of already broken out of a range. Like look at this one compared to Oxy. This one's just going to break out. And then if we look at where it is right now, everything above here is kind of like, I call it air, because there is no buyers here, right? It was just all sellers. So I think we're going to trade through this kind of block right here pretty quickly. It should be mostly all buyers and no sellers. And we did see some UOA on Oxy. I think I posted it. They were betting on 39, which is, let's see if we get price range. From here to 39, it's a pretty big move. It's like almost a 10% move from here to 39 within a 2-week period is what they were betting on. So that's what I'm tracking. And then this is what I mean by strength. This is the weekly time frame. And we change this to daily. It's gonna look even crazier. Give me a sec. All right. So we entered XLE, believe it or not, right here. This was just 2 weeks ago. We entered it right at the breakout. And I was kind of scared it was gonna be a little toppy. But just look at this, just remarkable strength that the energy sector has been showing, while, you know, the indices have been trading sideways, up and down, left, down, just down, down, down. And then while, but just look at that. This is what you want to buy. Names that are being bought up while the market is just trading sideways and just killing premiums. What else are we watching? This is the other one I want to kind of point out. BA on a weekly time frame. If we look at it, it's going to be, I'm not going to call this a bull flag because it's just too much, too long. It's been trading within this channel for just over a year now, and it's just peaking out now. And I saw some UA. I've seen some big block orders within the millions that were in the money, and then some kind of medium-sized orders are betting on 240 for February. So we entered that trade, and then just look at the strength, just green bar after green bar, while the indices, like I said, are kind of trading sideways and just killing premium. And this is the kind of strength I look for, and that's why I added kind of airlines and travel to my watch list, because travel moves together, just typically plays pretty much. And then, like I said, we have AL earnings coming up. So that's one I want to look for coming into this week, kind of look for UA on AL, and maybe we'll make a bet on that one.
Sweet. Thank you, Daniel, for that. That looks pretty interesting. I think BA is about to make that move despite a interesting market, to say the least. War, how about you, man? What are you looking at these days for technical analysis? Any stocks on your radar?
Yeah, so I mean,
pretty sure your screen.
Yeah, sure. So let's see. Yeah, so like Dan, Boeing is probably my top watch. I mean, like we talked about earlier with the MACD on the weekly time frame, like it's just now crossing bullish and it's close to resistances. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw like 250 on that one. But this is another trade that we're in, similar sector where it's kind of like military sort of stuff. But yeah, the MACD is right there and it's right at resistance. So those are kind of like the two I'm really looking at right now. I think we had some like XOM lottos. This one, it had like a tiny little bull flag. So yeah, I mean, similar to Dan, like those are the sectors I'm watching, the stocks I'm watching. Outside of that, I mean, I think I'll probably just like take it easy this week with OPEX and with it being a short week, but yeah, that's about it.
Sweet, thank you, War. Will, how about you, man? Anything? Are you looking at anything in the equities market these days?
You know, I'm more focused on crypto these days. Here, let me share my screen. Oh, I gotta change some settings here. Sorry. Yeah, no. So I like to look at crypto as sort of like a risk on indicator, and you know, just given the performance that we've had. Pull this up here with you know, with growth and tech and that transition like Dan was talking about into stuff more like, you know, oil and industrials. It's a you know, it's a tangible sort of like risk off that the market's been taking. You know, and I've always preferred trading tech, but that's been more of a short trade since the new year and most of December as well. Let me see here. There we go. You see that?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Cool. Yeah. So going into the earnings season, I'm keeping an eye on, you know, your classic like FANG names, which have for the most part been ranging for like the better part of, you know, the last year or so. Sorry, this computer is a bit sluggish. So Amazon is a name that I'm keeping track of here. You know, it had this really parabolic run right when COVID hit, and then it's just been kind of chopping up and down since then. It's coming into the mid range here. I want to see if it's something that we break down below off of earnings, if you know, which would then target this lower end of the spectrum here, or if we see a reaction, some buyers stepping in, like we've seen previously, the past few times it's come down to test it. Names also like Microsoft, which has been relatively strong, you know, even as a tech name that hasn't been performing too hot recently, it's still held up quite well, you know, as you can see here, and it's been on a consistent uptrend as well. It unlike Amazon, which has been ranging for like a year plus now, you know, this has kind of just finished its run and it's starting to pull back a bit, but you can see it's finding support like at the closest possible level. You know, it's not like dipping back down and like forming this big range. You know, it's kind of finding buyers immediately. So that this would be, even in the tech sector, which hasn't been performing well, a name that's showing relative strength. You know, in the context of that. So these are kind of the names that I'm looking for. They've been getting sold off lately, but you know, I don't think that it's like this perpetual, like, you know, a generational top or anything. You know, I want to see what happens when the numbers start coming out and how institutional buyers react to it.
Definitely. No, I think it's an interesting time. And speaking of earnings, we have quite a few coming up this week with some banks reporting. Bank of America is reporting tomorrow, Procter & Gamble on Wednesday, Netflix and Costco on Thursday. We have United Airlines and American as well reporting. So it'll be exciting to see how things go as we head into earnings season as well. With that, I think that takes us into our next segue, which will be kicked off by Kabir. Kabir will be talking about some stocks and going over the earnings review, what's going on, and how they're looking fundamentally before Dan helps him and also does some technical analysis live for you guys as well. So Kabir, I'll give it to you to kick it off.
Thanks, Simon, for passing it over. Hi guys, I'm Kabir. So I just wanted to cover an interesting set of tickers that have had an earnings report and have ER coming up. The first one that I have, KBH, it had an outstanding set of results for the full year in the fourth quarter. It just released its ER on 12th of this month, so a couple of days back. So KBH, which is KB Home, it's listed in the NYSE. And it's one of the largest and most recognized home builders in the States with more than a 60-year history. They develop and sell a large range of new homes specifically made for first-time buyers. So, this range has attached and detached single-family homes, townhomes, and condos. And the reason I wanted to bring this up and kind of go through the ER is because I think it's interesting how, this last year we saw BlackRock acquiring a lot of land capital by buying homes mostly above the asking price. So I consider this earnings report, in addition to that, an insight into the increasing interest in land, as well as, increase in the value of land capital. So, coming down to the report, KB Home delivered quarter November 2021 earnings of $1.91 per share on a revenue of 1.7 billion. Whereas the consensus estimate was 1.77 per share on a revenue of 1.7 billion. So no real surprise on the revenue end of things, but about a 70% year-over-year increase in earnings per share and 40.3% increase in revenue on a year-over-year basis. So most of the market sentiment observed for this ticker, KBH, is bullish. The short-term, intermediate-term, and long-term prices are showing upward trends. The current price of KBH is $49. It went up $7 after the earnings report. So some resistances that I want to mention are at $50.20, $51.35, $52.51. Some supports are $47.89, $46.73, and around $45.50.
Dan,
Now,
do you want to show our audience what that would look like on a graph as well in the same time as Kabir goes on to the report?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at KB. I don't have any TA in them. Let's see. All right, KB. Is it just KB, Financial Group?
KBH. So it's KB Home.
Oh, KBH, gotcha. KBH. Awesome. All right, go ahead, Kabir.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'm pretty much, done. But as you can see on Dan's screen, like he was saying, don't predict the top, don't catch bottom, look at that volume, right? The day earnings. So that shows a lot of increase in relative strength. And that's one of the reasons I, thought that it'd be interesting to bring it up and talk about it. It is approaching a heavy resistance, but, with the relative strength, let's see how this stock fares. Now, moving on, the next two tickers that I'll be talking about, don't need any introductions and are traded quite heavily amongst option and stock traders. They're going to be American Airlines and Netflix, which Dan will be sharing his TA on. So I just want to quickly talk about some fundamentals and what happened in the last ER. American Airlines will be reporting, by the way, this Thursday at 7 a.m. before market close. Before market open. And American Airlines in its previous ER reported a loss of 99 cents per share on a revenue of 9 billion, given that, they've been kind of dealing with the aftermath of COVID-19 for the last year and a half. The consensus estimate was a loss of $1.04 per share on a revenue of 8.9 billion. So although they missed third quarter, EPS estimates, revenue had grown 182% on a year-over-year basis. I think that's pretty interesting. The current consensus revenue is 9.24 billion for the fourth quarter ending December 31st. The company stated in its shareholder letter that they expect fourth quarter revenue to be around 9.05 billion. Consensus estimate is a bit higher than what the company stated or what the company gave as guidance. Most of the market sentiment that I've gone through, or observed is bullish for this ticker, yet the trends that I'm seeing for short-term and long-term prices are kind of showing a downward trend. But what's super interesting about when I was doing my research is that, overall on average, the analyst and investor sentiment is bullish, and as well, so is the intermediate price that we're expecting. So hopefully this, earnings kickstarts sort of breaks AL in the kind of range that it's been trading. Some of the current price as of Friday close for AAL was $18.49. Some of the resistance that I've been noticing is $18.97, $19.44, and $19.73. Some supports are $18.21, $17.92, and $75.45. So that's kind of the pivot points that I found for American Airlines. Last but not the least, I'm going to move on to Netflix, everyone's favorite. I think everyone I know who trades has traded Netflix at some point or the other. They will be reporting earnings on January 20th, this Thursday at 4 p.m. after market close. Netflix earnings is always like super fun for me. I never trade earnings, but I have my popcorn ready and I'm just seeing it go 5% up, 10% down, whatever happens. Super entertaining to watch. So just a quick recap of what happened in the last ER was that they reported earnings per share of $3.19 on a revenue of $7.5 billion. The consensus earnings estimate was $2.56 per share on a revenue of $7.5 billion. So no real surprise in the revenue, but major expected increase in EPS, earnings per share. Revenue grew over 16.3% on a year-over-year basis. The company said in its letter it expects fourth quarter earnings of approximately 80 cents per share on revenue of approximately 7.712 billion. The current consensus estimate for what's upcoming in this report is that it's going to be $1.07 per share on a revenue of 7.66 billion. Now, most of the market sentiment is, I feel like because of what's been happening, the turmoil in the market, a lot of people are just, investor sentiment is getting more bullish, but, that's just what the people are, saying on average on majority of the platforms that I look at. But, it is good to notice that in the short term, price is showing upward trend along with investor sentiment. So the current price of Netflix is $525 as of market close. Some resistances and supports will be outlined by Dan, who I will now pass it on over to for some TA.
All right, guys. I'm going to start off with Netflix since that's the one we left off on. There's not much to look at here. Like I highlighted earlier that Netflix is trading a bear market right now. It's down, I think, 27% from its top. But I mean, that's not much. If you zoom out, you really look at it, Netflix is still up a couple of %, within the last 2 years. So this drop is not much for it. And then Netflix really gets the earnings season going kicked off from the FANG names, But the one thing I have noticed about Netflix is that when it kind of dumps on earnings, the QQQ goes up. I still haven't figured out why it does that. And when it goes up, QQQ kind of dumps the next couple of days. But as Kabir mentioned, these are the supports and resistances I have lined up. So if we do go down, I honestly think Netflix is just going to burn premium. If you're going to play as ER, it's going to kind of just trade sideways. The lowest it'll go is probably going to be 505, and the highest it'll go will probably be 556. And it's probably going to price in a pretty big move. So whichever way you play it, it's probably going to burn premium. So the best bet is probably selling some credit spreads on this name. Let's go talk about American Airlines now. This is one I like to watch just because I kind of want to say that all the bad news is priced in already. I kind of like saying that. But from a TA standpoint, it's been trading in this range for a long time now. It's pretty close to its COVID bottom too. Actually, no, it's up 100% from the bottom. But from TA's perspective, I want to point out the weekly MACD. Here it is. It looks like it wants to cross over bullish really bad. And what weekly MACD tracks is going to be your moving averages, the convergence between these two. I think it's the 26 and the 12 subtracted. So whenever this crosses, we should get some good momentum to the upside or downside. It could also cross. It's still in a bearish context, but if it crosses out, we'll be in a bullish context, and we'll have targets of, the first one would be upside, would be 2220, and then we'll go to this double top up here, which would be 24.84 around there. Yeah, that's what we have.
Amazing. Thank you, Dan, for that. Really appreciate it. As I think that's pretty much the majority of the topics. Is there any other chart that anyone wants to cover? War, Will, Kabir, Dan, before we head over to the Q&A section of the live stream?
I mean, mine kind of ties into the Q&A. There was a lot of questions about like stop losses and stuff like that, just I guess managing risk or knowing when to exit. So I do have a chart that I can show right now that kind of covers a couple of those.
Fire it up.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago, we took AA calls. There was some UOA at 54 for, I think it was $57 calls, which it's like a 5.5% move in a week. So we actually bought here, and it honestly looked like we had bought the top. But I mean, if you sort of zoom out a little, we got the daily 8 EMA here, and it's used that as a support the whole way up. So my thought was, even though around here we were down, I think we were down like 80% or something like that. I figured daily 8 EMA held as support. We filled the gap now, and now we can move higher. And then it did, and then it gapped down again, but it still held the support. So, you know, thankfully, I think it was like the Wednesday or something of the following week, it ripped up and we were up, I think, a couple 100%. But that's kind of how I would like use a stop loss. Is I tend to use an indicator and let that do the thinking for me, because I mean, we're all human, so we're going to make more mistakes than something like this will. So like the fewer decisions I have to make, the better. So yeah. And as far as like managing risk, like only put in what you're willing to lose. Like if you're going to do $1,000 with a 20% stop, like you should just trade with $200 and just let the trade play out how it can. So yeah, that should answer a few questions.
And just piggybacking off that too, it also, you know, it's very contextual, like the time horizon of the trade itself. You know, like if you're, say you want to buy like leaps for, you know, like a year out, or like, you know, even like 6 months out, you know, that is much more reasonable to set you know, a percent based stop on, because that's the kind of trade that, you know, it becomes apparent, you know, within the first, you know, handful of weeks or months or whatever, whether or not it's going in your favor. But if you're trading like weeklies, like this trade that Warwick was just talking about, you know, it's like he said, it was down 80% before it then popped like a couple 100% to the upside. So it's if you have like a 30% stop on that, you're going to get out before the move that you're looking for. Like those are inherently riskier trades. So it's much more, you know, it's a much better idea to manage your position sizing in regards to your risk, rather than setting some arbitrary percent in which, you know, you get stopped out of your trade, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you guys, you know, and we see that often, you know, at the end of the day, most people that are trading options, at least within our group, you know, we're trading basically out the money contracts. Not only that, but we're trading weeklies, you know. Obviously, you know, if the stock moves down a little bit, the trade is going to be automatically down 30%, you know. And honestly, we shouldn't be basing our stops based on a percentage. We should be basing them, like Warwick mentioned, you know, we should be basing them on key levels and indicators. You know, whenever we already see, okay, it's broken, it cannot go back up, that's when we cut the trade, you know. And if we don't feel comfortable with the trade and stuff, you know, and putting the money and risking 50% or whatever, then we should trade smaller, you know, like Will mentioned, you know, instead of putting $1,000 and a 50% stop, which is going to be $500, then just put $500 with a wider stop or something like that, you know. There's too many ways we can manage our risk, you know. It's not only, and one of them is position sizing.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for that. Another viewer has a question for you guys, and I'm gonna direct this to start off with Jose, and then I'm gonna ask Dan what your input is. How do you know whether unusual options activity is a buy or a sell?
You wanna go
Honestly,
first? Yeah.
we never know that. We don't know that. All we can do is watch price action. For example, on Friday, a Disney call came into the lowest algo. When we looked at the hourly and the daily and stuff, Disney was basically trading within a channel, you know, and they were basically buying the bottom of that channel, you know. What happened next? Netflix ended up releasing news and stuff. The trade ended up going like 80% up on just that day. If we were to follow that trade, you know, and we agree that the trade is gonna go back up, you know, because we're buying at the bottom of the channel and stuff. If we're to follow that trade, you know, we also should be setting a level where the trade is gonna be invalidated. You get me? We're never gonna know if it's sold or bought, to be honest. There's no way for us to know what's really happening. We just gotta look at price action. We gotta look at the news. We gotta, if they're buying, for example, Apple calls, you know, how is the tech sector doing that day? You know, if they're buying BA calls, how is defensive, or how is the Dow doing that day? You know, yeah, I mean, we gotta look at all other indicators. You know, unusual options activity is just an indicator, and in trading, none of the indicators are gonna be 100% right all of the time. You know, we gotta basically use different indicators, price action, and to make a decision. You get me? We cannot basically follow one algo trade or one unusual options activity blindly. We cannot do that. You know, we gotta.
Dan, how about you? How are you? Do you, obviously we've established that it's hard to tell if it's a buy or sell. How do you go about using it then?
I kind of think of it common sense, right? If let's say we come into earnings that's late, we're looking for a Netflix flow, and the day of earnings, and then you just see some really big weekly block orders. Let's say $400,000 orders, $500,000 orders, just like multiple orders. You got to ask yourself: do you really think like these big investors are going to be putting $500,000 orders on a weekly coming into ER? You got to assume that these are being sold. And most of the time, I have noticed these, especially into earnings, when it's big orders on calls or puts, it trades the opposite side. Let's say like 2 Netflix ERs ago, we saw a bunch of $600,000 orders. I mean, in the millions. And that was what ended up being is just people were selling covered calls, you know, to hedge their equities, and that's when it dumped 10%. Like, did you really think that tens of millions of dollars were lost because these people are putting orders in that size, $500,000? No, they're controlling the price or manipulating the price by selling covered calls. So that's what I like to look at that too. And then I kind of assume some are bought when, especially like some of these big orders we saw in oil 2 weeks ago. There were big ones, so they were in the millions, but they were in the money. So it's kind of like in the money calls really give these the price action some strength. I saw 10% in the money calls on MRO, CBX, NXLE. So if you see kind of flow within the same sector, within the same stocks, like the ones that move in sympathy, I kind of like to assume that they're bought because they're following the strain, they're doing what I'm doing. But like Jose said, there's no way of telling 100%. You can look at the open interest, you can look at the volume, you can look at if they got filled at the bid or the ask or the above the ask, which is kind of like above the ask means like there's a buyer that's in a rush and wants to get filled in all these contracts. And at the bid just means like, oh, they set the order and they don't mind if they got filled on all their orders or the full order or just kind of throughout the day. But there's a way of kind of like cutting down just think about it like, all right, would this make sense to bet this big on this move in this time frame? You're kind of just going to ask yourself, would somebody really put that much money into it? You know, so that's the way I like to look at it.
Yeah, 100%. Also, for example, when we see unusual options activity, you know, and these trades that are betting like 20K or 40K and 50K and stuff like that, you know, on out of the money contracts, you know, like for example, if you see that a stock fell 10% that day, you know, and then you see people that they keep on buying puts, you gotta really ask yourself, you know, why didn't they buy these puts way before the stock dropping 10%? You get me? You gotta ask yourself all of these things, you know. So when you see that trade, you gotta really watch price action and see, hey, is this thing gonna keep on breaking down or is it gonna reverse here? You know, we cannot just assume that they're buying naked puts. You get me? It's always gonna be 50-50. And we always gotta realize that, you know, that it's a 50-50. We can increase our odds, you know, we can increase those chances once we look at our charts, indicators, you name it, you know.
Dan, Jose, thank you so much for that. And our members and audience will find those insights very, very valuable. War, I got a question for you. So you mentioned in the Discord that you're looking at RTX and NOC. And for anyone who's not familiar, the Discord is where we're discussing all our plays, what's going on a daily basis, sharing our watch list, you know, sharing what trades we're all taking part of. And in there, you mentioned you're looking at RTX and NOC. They're about to test all-time highs, while LMT just broke a DT, which I'm assuming is a downtrend line. Thoughts on this chart / sector as a whole?
So LMT, I was actually talking about in Discord maybe like 2 weeks ago. There's one member, Jolene, I mean, she'll remember it for sure. We were talking about like, because it has a huge gap to fill. There was like some news or something. I think it was about like a dividend. But the stock dropped like 15% overnight. And I mean, it kept making higher lows on the way back up. And, you know, now, I mean, I'm not looking at it now. I mean, it's been vertical for the last 3 weeks. That's kind of why I like RTX too, is because it hasn't broken out yet. But yeah, I mean, anything in that sector should honestly be fine, I think. LMT, I'd probably wait for it to like cool off or like retest the daily 8 EMA, but yeah. I mean, I'm not looking at that one specifically because it has run a lot. So that's sort of my thoughts on that. NOC I haven't looked at in a while, but NOC actually looks kind of good. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you, War. So I guess we're coming close to the end of the session. We'll do 1 or 2 more questions before we announce the big surprise, and then we'll wrap it up there. So one of the audience members is asking for our mods, any of the mods, feel free to answer this. How do you use vertical spreads as a means to hedge trades? Any takers?
Vertical spreads to hedge trades. They asked about, was it for earnings? I think it was earnings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So let's say you buy for Netflix. All right. Netflix is trading at $5.25 right now. So they're gonna, let's say they buy a $600 call for earnings. The way they would hedge it is they would sell a credit spread that's above that. So that would sell. It's like a 620, and then buy a 640, something like that. So you sell whatever is above your strike. If you're buying a put, you're gonna, let's say you buy a 480 put, you're gonna sell a 450, 440 spread. So you kind of just you're buying one and then you're selling one higher than that, because the one higher than that has a smaller probability of hitting than yours, because yours is gonna be closer to the money than the one you're gonna sell, pretty much. So you're selling premium, but you're also buying it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as using it to hedge, I would probably not do that.
Yeah, earnings are gamble, so
yeah, I would just position smaller. Like everyone likes to buy like SPY puts if they got bullish positions and this, that, and the other, but I think it's better to have time on the contracts and just position size correctly than it is to, you know, I've always looked at hedging as like burning money, because I mean, realistically, like you're expecting that trade to go to zero, so why put any money in it? So that's That's my thoughts on hedging. The best hedge is smaller position sizing.
Love it, guys. All right, we'll do one last question. So this one pertains to, I think it's been a recurring question all throughout our stream, and it pertains to the OS algo. And the person is asking, how do you guys like to use that? So who wants to kick that off? Jose?
Yeah, that's got to be Jose.
I can. Yeah. So me personally, like, how do I use it? For example, I do chart a lot, I do chart a lot. So whenever I see like a trade that comes up in the algo, and I pop and I put up the chart and stuff, I already have the map.
Jose, we seem to have lost you there for a sec.
Oh, my bad. So, okay, I'm gonna start again. So how do I use it? Whenever I see a trade on the algo and stuff, I pull up the chart and stuff, and most of the names that are gonna come up in the algo, like I already have something charted for them and stuff. If I do agree with the play and I do understand the play, and I can basically see more or less what I'm gonna be risking, then I do follow the trade if I like it, And I give the same example that I gave before, the Disney trade, I was looking at it on the 15-minute time frame. I was looking at it on the daily, the hourly and stuff, and it was basically bouncing right on a trend, And I decided to follow it honestly because I did like that they waited for Disney to basically drop the whole day for them to buy calls. When it was dropping, they waited basically the whole day for them to get into a trade and stuff. Also, I ended up following that trade. Why? Because I could basically and easily see where the trade would be invalidated. If I cannot see where the trade is gonna be invalidated, I don't follow the algo. You get me? Basically.
Definitely.
If you cannot see where that trade is going to be invalidated, then don't enter it, because that means you really don't understand the trade.
Yeah, there's got to be context to it, right? OS algo, it's not like some miraculous, like trade signaling service that you can just blindly follow every trade and you're guaranteed a certain profit. Like there's context to it. So it's like, for me, when I'm looking at those algo trades specifically, which tend to be like shorter term and riskier bets, if it's not a chart that I've already have been like watching or like have some sort of like structure in place, I'm not going to just like take the trade because it came up. It's like, if I see, I'll pull up the chart. And then if it's like, okay, Square is coming into like a demand zone, something where there's been a lot of buying activity. So someone's going to be wanting to defend that position. And then I also see like some short-term like call activity. Then that gives me context to be like, okay, well, if it falls under this, then, that this is probably what they were trying to defend. This is the trade they were taking. So if it falls through that, then the trade's invalid. It's like, you gotta be able to frame it in a way where it's, you try and like get an understanding of where they're coming from with that trade before following it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Exactly.
On that note, very quick follow-up to Jose.
And like Will mentioned, if we're watching the trade already, it's even better, because honestly, like these trades, they move fast, and if we don't have a chart for it or anything, and we start charting the thing and everything, by the time we finish charting the thing, we probably already lost our exit. You get me? Or our entry, I mean. So we gotta be big. We gotta chart a lot and stuff, and don't just follow everything blindly. Many of these trades that you see in the algo, they do provide even better entries. It's better for us, and not only that, but we get like about 35 alerts per day. Take your time, analyze the trade, understand it and stuff, and if you can see where your where they're going to be taking profit, and if you can see where that trade is going to be invalidated, then follow it. If you cannot see where the trade is going to be invalidated, don't follow it, because that means that you're going to basically let it trade right to minus 99%. You get me?
Yeah.
Definitely. I think, Jose, one follow-up question that I want to quickly sneak in because people will benefit from this is, can we see the algo flow for all day? Mostly because the market is being very moody and it feels like it might be useful to see what kind of flow is coming in the later half of the day. Quick response to that?
Honestly, like the reason why we decided to limit it is because it's too much activity, you know? Not only too much activity, but there's a variant, you know, that basically like the OS algo trades in the morning do perform better than the ones in the afternoon. And it's because of a variant, you know, we cannot do anything about it. So we decided to limit it, you know, so that we could analyze just the first 30 trades of the day and see, and then try to really understand what's this data better. You know, if we get hundreds of trades per day and stuff, it's gonna be really hard for us to analyze these trades and try to improve the algo from this. You get me?
Definitely. Quality over quantity at the end of the day. Man, our audience is just killing it with the questions today. We had another one that I just have to take before we wrap this session up and announce our surprise. So I'll leave this up to any mods. On average, how many trades do you guys do per week, and what is considered over trading? I think this is a question that baffles me. I've struggled with it in my journey, so I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say on that.
Yeah. So I you know, for me, with the new year, there's been like a really tangible shift in the amount that I'm trading. I think I've probably taken like less than a dozen trades since the beginning of the year. And, you know, last year there were days when I would take that many, you know, entries and exits throughout one single trading day. You know, so yeah, it's a good question. It's something that every trader battles with, you know, it's because, you know, we have like this compulsion to always have like some kind of like risk in the game at any given time, you know, and like that's not necessarily the best way to approach it. You know, it's like it's much better to take one or two trades a week that you really you have a really strong conviction about, you know, because then you can size appropriately. You know, you can take on a larger position rather than like scalping this and that and up and down and following, you know, every single like piece of flow that comes in. You know, over trading is when you're taking trades that you otherwise wouldn't, just for the sake of having something, you know, moving in your portfolio. That's over trading. If you're just trading for the sake of it, you know, it's like you tend to perform better when you take a step back, you slow down, and you really plan your trades out. I do anyways.
Definitely. I think that's something we can all attest to.
100%.
With that being said, I want to thank all our moderators here.
I want to say one more thing that I do often, you know, it's that we gotta be really careful if we overtrade, you know, because at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, we're trading weekly contracts, you know, and they're gonna move wild, you know, and if you have 4 or 5 positions open at the same time, you know, it's gonna be a mission to handle like all of these different positions. You know, you basically need all of them to go in your direction to basically manage them well. You know, you're not gonna be really able to manage all of these positions at the same time. So just try to take it easy. If you're new, take 1 trade, 2 trades per day. At least that's what I do, to be honest. And it's easier to manage.
Yeah, I like to, a lot of people know that I trade a lot sometimes, but it depends on how you're doing, right? If you're on a hot streak, you're gonna keep going until that hot streak stops. That's we call it rolling. So we keep on rolling plays until the kind of stops. You're over trading when you're making too many mistakes. You know, when you're just 3 bad trades in a row, that means you gotta stop. You gotta stop and take a step back and see what you're doing wrong. But if you're on a hot streak, you know, you just keep going until that last roll just doesn't hit, and that's when you are right. This is where I stop and I take my money. So it really depends on your portfolio as well. You know, I don't like to put more than 20% of my portfolio in options. Sometimes I do, but I end up regretting it.
Not anymore, right?
From that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's like if you're like reacting to a loss, right? Like if you like you take a trade, it goes against you, and then you feel like you need to find something else because you got to fix that by the end of the day or whatever. Like that's, it's like I understand the impulse to do that, but it sets you up for another mistake, and then you just dig yourself deeper into this hole, and you look back after a week and you're like, holy crap, like I just like gave up like 10% of my portfolio, chasing these trades to try and fix the last mistake. It kind of snowballs into this like unmanageable situation, so it's trading for the wrong reason. I guess that would be over trading.
I definitely find it like a lot better to take a step. Like if I have 2 or 3 bad trades in a day, then rather than trying to come back with a vengeful mind and like make it all back, it's okay to accept a red day and just move on with your day and start fresh the next.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that might be a little like controversial. Like sometimes you do make the right trade, but just execute it poorly. So I don't think you should be afraid of re-entering that same trade, because sometimes, like oftentimes, your hypothesis is correct. It's just maybe you entered 5 minutes before you should have, and because of that, you're now in a losing position. Like I think being able to revisit a trade just because you might have executed part of it poorly is something a lot of people need to work on as well.
Definitely. With that being said, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our audience members for joining us today. It's finally time for that surprise that we've been talking about. So coming up for you guys, especially, thank you so much for attending. We'll be giving up a 30% off our monthly membership alongside a whole month of OFA for free. So everyone's going to get a chance to dive in, get a taste for our services, begin your journey in options trading, and join us in the community, which we so look forward to seeing you in. Alongside that, we have an exciting announcement as well, that we will be launching a new trailhead within our OptionSwing Academy, which is the OSA, coming end of this month, and it will be focusing on day trading basics or day trading 101. So if you are new and you thought you found today's stuff insightful, feel free to reach out to all our moderators. We are on our Instagram at OptionSwing. Be sure to subscribe, like as well. I'll let the moderators as well let you know where you can find them and how to reach out to them.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'll start off. You can reach out to me within the server. I'm Bidem Dips. If you have any questions, as well on Instagram, I'm also Bidem Dips. BIDEMDIPS.
Yeah, same here. Reach out through the server. I'm on Twitter as well. Will Options. It's the same on Discord and Twitter. Reach out if you need to. Happy to help.
Yeah, I'm just Warwick Gorman on everything. So OptionSwing should be following me. If they're not, then I'm be pretty upset. But yeah, that's probably the easiest way to find me. The spelling is it throws a lot of people off. So
it's right there in the comments section on YouTube. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Amazing. Jose, we'll wrap it up with you.
Yeah, personally, like I used to have an Instagram. I lost access to it and haven't been able to recover it. So I haven't posted anything. But if you need to reach out to me, just send a message to the OptionSwing account, or just send me a message in the server.
Amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for our first ever OptionSwing live stream. We'll be looking forward to doing much more of these in the future. We thank you all. Be sure to subscribe, like for future notifications, and we'll catch you at the next one, guys. Thank you so much for seeing us today.
All right, bye, everybody.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.